Okay, it's well, here we are on Lab 5, so we're moving right along here. We're halfway through here. A couple things we're going to look at in this lab are soils data and raster data. Um, and I think some of you, I think, are going to be working with soils on your final project, um, and we also need to start looking at raster data. We've been looking at vectors so far. So we're going to start with a new map like we've done before. I'm going to put in lab 5 here, no spaces. Cat already wants attention right out of the gate here. I'm sure you can hear him meowing back there. Okay, so I'm going to put this where I've been keeping the others. So you want to set up your, like you've done before here, Chad's GIS, where I want to put it. And I want a new item, I want a new folder. Lab 5 with no spaces. And that's where I'm going to put all my stuff. So we'll go ahead and hit OK. I just ran an update on, every once in a while when you open this up, it might prompt you and say, hey, there's an update for ArcGIS Pro. I just ran an update on it, so hopefully that doesn't mean mine is completely different than yours, depending on what I'm doing today and what they've updated. But if you ever see that where it says, there's a new update, by all means, go ahead and update it. So we'll see it. We'll get ready here for it to load up. Okay, so let's pretend like this is going to be like one of your student projects. Okay, just we're going to make up a student project. Well, my guess is since this is a GIS and there's the geographic component, that there's some geography involved in your student project. So there's a piece of land somewhere on Earth that you're probably interested in, or an area. And I'm just going to pretend like mine is somewhere in Iowa here. Let's see, I'm going to go to the map tab up on top, right? I'm going to go to locate, the little binocular button. And I'm going to search in here, and I'm going to say, let's just come up with I don't live there anymore, but I grew up in Manson, Iowa. So I'm in a little town called Manson, Iowa. Let's give Manson, Iowa some recognition here. So Manson, Manson, Iowa. Hey, there it is. That's where I grew up. Okay, so I'm going to pretend like my student project, I'm interested in Manson, Iowa, and my dad farms this piece of property right over here. So I'm going to change my base map to image with labels. Again, you can probably tell that's my favorite one, imagery with labels. Okay, so here we are. Just as to learn, if you want to learn some geology, sorry about that. If you want to learn some geology too, Iowa geology, this is on the Des Moines Lobe, which is the most recent glaciation of Iowa, and so it's very low topography, low relief, very poorly drained. So I'm going to pretend like my dad farms this piece of property right here. So I'm going to zoom in, and as you can see from the aerial photography, there's some wet spots here that um, that exist, as I told you, for the reason why. So I want to know what the soils are on my dad's farm, right? So the first thing I'm going to do probably for my student project is get myself a boundary of the land that I'm interested in. So to do that, we're going to do something we've done before, which is go to the catalog pane, click down here, or go to view, catalog pane, there it is. Go to your folders, your lab 5 folder that you just picked, right click, new shapefile, and should pop up here in a second. I'm tempted to make the joke about hypnotizing with the little circle if you stare at it, but I'm just going to joke about joking about it, because the joke is old and you know what I mean. It's going to sit there and circle for a while. So I'll hit pause. Okay, so we've got this pops up eventually. Create feature class. We are going to call it field underscore boundary. Okay, no spaces, right? Underscore, and it's going to be a polygon shapefile. I'm going to leave all this stuff again. I'm in Iowa, so I can go to my favorite projected coordinate system, universal transverse Mercator, North American datum of 1983, zone 15. I think most of you are from Iowa, maybe somebody from Texas, but I'm pretty sure that if I remember correctly, Texas is in this. Most of it is in zone 15 as well, but Texas is a little wider and bigger. You know, everything's bigger in Texas. uh, so you know, it's going to be somewhere in the same area, 14, 15, 16. But if you're doing your project area in Texas, you'll have to make sure you're in. If you're going to use UTMs, make sure that you're in the right zone. So let's hit the run button there. And as soon as it processes, we should see their field boundary pops up over here, right? Okay, so the next thing, I'm going to kind of go somewhat quickly here because we've done this a few times before, but I'm going to go up to the Edit tab here, right? I'm going to click on Create. I'm going to click on my field boundary over here. I'm going to click on Create a Polygon feature. And now I can zoom in as much as I want. There's certain keyboard shortcuts too that I haven't that I've learned, but then I forget them. But I know there's a way you can pan while editing, and I'll try to put that in the instructions if I can remember. So, but what I'm going to do here is just zoom out just a little bit so I can see the entire field boundary. So I'm going to click here, click here, click here, click here, and then when I'm happy, I'll right click and finish. Okay, so there's my dad's field boundary. So I can go ahead and hit save all edits. Okay, so we've got that, and it's selected, right? Because it always selects the last feature that you did. So I'm going to right click on field boundary. I don't like to just leave things selected, so I'm going to go right click on the word field boundary over there, go to selection and clear selection. Okay, so now we've got our boundary. So now I'm going to we're going to go look at the soils on a website here called Web Soil Survey, which I think some of you have used before. So let's go here and go to Google, type in Web Soil Survey. And that should bring you to this. The first one should pop up this URL, this link here. Click on that. And then we're going to click on this green button to start the web soil survey. Now, if you've used this before, you probably haven't imported your AOI before. So AOI stands for Area of Interest. So for my project, my area of interest is my dad's farm. By the way, that's not my dad's farm. I think I know who farms that area over there, but I don't know. It's not my dad. My dad wasn't even a farmer. But anyway, who cares about that? So we're going to import our area of interest. So we're going to click on this down area here. And you can do it one or two ways. You can zip up the shapefile, or you can create AOI from shapefile. So let's do that. So what it wants is the SHP file, the SHX file, and the PRJ file, and it says the DBF file is optional. That's because it doesn't really care what the attributes are. It's just using the geography aspect. So it needs to know the projection and the geometry part of it. So let's click on choose file for .shp. And then let's go to our folder. So go to where we saved it, Lab 5, and field boundary SHP. So make sure it's the SHP. See how there's another one here that says XML document? We don't want that one. We want this one, the one that's the SHP file. So hit on that. Then go here. We're going to go. It should bring up the we're going to look for the SHX file now. It should bring up the same folder. I don't know why it's taking forever. So here we go. So now we find the SHX, which is right there, SHX file, and the PRJ file, which is right there. I'm not even going to mess with the DBF file because it's optional. They don't need it, so let's not add it. Let's go set AOI. And it took us right to my dad's farm field. Okay, so, but now we just have a hatched rectangle here, right? That doesn't tell us anything. So we need to go up here and go to soil map. Click on the tab soil map up on the top here. And this tells us, this gives us some information here. So now we have, so in this polygon right here is soil 107. So if we go over here, look at 107, we can see that's the Webster clay loam soil. So we could click on this link and learn all about Webster clay loam. The other nice thing here it does is it tells you the percentage of your area of interest that has these soils. So if this was your final project and you wanted to tell your dad, you know, what he's probably familiar with the soils on his land anyway. But if you want to say, hey, Dad, did you know that you have exactly 41.8% Webster clay loam on your field? And then he may or may not be impressed. Okay, so already we're learning soils information about the field, right? Before we do some exporting here, I'm going to click, see how I've got this arrow here? I'm going to click up on that. Well, no, let's just leave that. Don't do what I just did here. Let's go to Soil Data Explorer. Now, some of you, I think, are dealing with things like erosion and maybe hazardous materials and stuff like hazardous soils, or you know, that sort of thing, disaster recovery. You can find some different ways of classifying the soil in here, like erosion hazard. Is it erosion hazard? Let's click on that. Now we click view rating. I went a little fast there, but we did erosion hazard, view rating, and you could also click view description. That tells you more about what that is. But if you wanted to, now at this point, just print this out, you could go to printable version and just hit view. You can change any of this stuff that you want, but I'm just going to hit view for now. And it's going to come up with a PDF that you can just print out just for having your own, you know, if you wanted to know this information. Sorry about that. So now, and also it tells you, it gives you your legend and stuff. So, you know, it tells you a table and a legend on what is hazardous here and those sorts of things. You can also do, you know, anything, drainage class, erosion class, any of that stuff, hazardous soils, potentials, things like that. So that may be of interest to you. And so I'm not going to, you can download this. I'm using, it's going to be different based on which browser you're using. I'm using Google Chrome. So that way you can click on download and it will download to whatever file you want to put it in. If you want to download the soils data, which we will do, we're going to click on download soils data. Okay, and now we need to create a download link. And you can see it's going to be a shapefile with the WGS84 datum. And so it tells you a little bit of information here about this. Now, once your download link is ready, it'll pop up here. And you can see it's 3.3 megabytes. So we need to click on that. Mine's going to pop up down here because I'm using Google Chrome. I've got about 30 seconds here, and I'm going to have to hit pause and start a new video. But once it's ready, hit open. And then you're going to want to, when it opens up, you're going to want to right-click, copy, go to your folder. It's going to run out of time here in a second, but go to your folder and hit paste your Lab 5 folder. Okay, I'm backing up here a little bit because I had to start the new video. So I'm back here, clicked on this, right? And as it's downloading here, we'll go Show in Folder, right click, copy, go to where we saved our stuff here, Lab 5, can hit paste, and then it's zipped up here, so we need to unzip it. So let's double click on that. Yours may have been, when I first did it, I think I double clicked to begin with. But if you see this little zip going up the folder, that means it's still zipped and we need to unzip it. If you see just a regular old folder, that means it's unzipped. But we need to right click on this, copy, bring it out here, paste. So now we know it's unzipped, right? So once we see we have this out, copied and pasted out of here, we can delete this. I just selected it and deleted it. And so now if we go back to ArcGIS Pro, go to the Map tab up on top. So once we have this unzipped, we can go to the Map tab, hit Add Data, go to where we're located at here. So we'll go to C, Lab 5. And if you don't see it, again, you might have to hit this refresh button. So you notice how it wasn't there to begin with. If you just have downloaded something that hasn't been there for very long, a lot of times you have to hit this refresh button. So it popped up. I can go there. Now, what I don't like about how the Web Soil Survey does this is they separate it out in between your spatial data and your tabular data. So with a shapefile, you've got the spatial aspect, the shapes, and you've got the attributes or the tables. Well, here they separate it out for you, and I don't really like that, but we got to deal with it. So when you double click, so we're going to double click on spatial, and we are going to go to soils. We want the polygon. So we've got polygon, line, point, polygon. This one is just going to be our boundary again, so we don't need that one. But we do want the soil MU, which stands for map unit, and then for our area of interest. So click on this one, click OK, and our soils popped up here. So the nice thing is it's just for our boundary. It's nothing outside here. So that was why we did a field boundary to begin with. Okay, so now let's right click on soil MU A underscore AOI and go to attribute table. And you can see we've got the symbols here, and so we really need to, I wish they would put in more attributes with, automatically. We can join, so you've learned about joining based on a field that has the same, like an identifying field that has the same records in both attribute tables. You can join, or you can use the go back to the Web Soil Survey and go back to your map up here, soil map, and you can find the map unit symbol here as well. So 6, 55, 95. So remember those numbers. Go back here, 6. So you know that if you wanted to symbolize this now, so let's go right click on the layer and go to Symbology. And then instead of single symbol, go to unique values. So this drop down here, once the Symbology pops up, it's going to say single. Go to unique values, and our field is going to be the MU sim. So now we can pretty much see the same thing that we see here, and we could even label these with the numbers, but the problem is you have to kind of go back and forth in terms of what soil is what. And you could do some joining, but that gets to be quite complicated, which is why I do not like the way they've got this set up. But this will get you started, at least if you're interested in soils. you can download this and see. Just out of curiosity here, I'm going to go up to the Appearance tab. So click on the Appearance tab. Remember how we can make it transparent? I'm just going to click on this layer here to make it transparent. Oh, we need to turn off field boundary. So it's kind of interesting to see how, these soil maps are basically models. They don't go out, to every location on Earth and put in soil probes and say, oh, this is definitely this boundary here. They use aerial photograph. They use GIS basically. They look at landscapes and contours and hillshade maps and all sorts of things to create these boundaries. So obviously, inside here is going to be a different soil than this whole polygon right here that's mapped. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. Okay, so one map that I want you to turn in then is this map. So go up here, you've done it before, insert new layout, create, show me this soil map that you downloaded with the symbology. And create your legend and north arrow and title and all that. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you how to do is this to bring soils data into ArcGIS Pro. Now we're going to kind of switch gears and learn about raster data and DEMs and LiDAR data. Okay, so first let's click out of this. So obviously you are doing some other things. You had to create a map. So when you get back to after you've done that, and you're back to here, close out the attribute table. You can stay zoomed in right here. You can, turn these off if you like, or leave them on. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to download some derived LiDAR data for Iowa. So Iowa has LiDAR across the entire state, and what LiDAR is it's light detection and ranging. And so an airplane goes and shoots out laser pulses at the ground and records what comes back, and you can make really high resolution maps of tree cover, bare earth topography. We're going to look at the bare earth topography for my dad's field here. So where you download this is through UNI's GeoTree project. So let's go back to Google. Once you're at Google, type in UNI LiDAR GeoTree. UNI LiDAR GeoTree, and then hit return. And this should be the top thing that pops up. We're going to click on that. And so it brings us here. Now we need to select our area of interest again. This one doesn't allow you to import it like the Web Soil Survey did. So go up here to select boundary type and go to city. Then for your select region, we're going to go to Manson, Iowa. Again, good old Manson, Iowa. Which, by the way, and for some reason when you do that, it opens up this tab, which is annoying. Maybe it didn't for you because you're using a different browser. But click out of this, get rid of this whole tab that popped up that says results. Just click out of it and go back here. Now that we're back here, we can see we're zoomed into good old Manson. And we want to go to the same area, the same farm field. So if you need to, go back here and maybe zoom out a little bit, turn on your field boundary, see where it is here. Go back here and say, okay, it's where this is a railroad line and a street. It's right above that. So right here is my dad's farm field. Now these zoom in buttons are not really all that great either. You can pan up and pan down using these. But as long as you've got in close here and you can see my dad's farm, go over to draw this one here. Draw a polygon to select LiDAR tiles for derived products. This means that these are products that they've already created from the LiDAR. So we want to you can go down, just make sure you cover all of my dad's field here. So draw a rectangle. And then this one will pop up. And we want the DEM, which stands for a digital elevation model, we want the contours, and we want the hillshade map that they created. This one is, if you want, you can download it. It's a DEM that includes tree and building topography. We're not going to deal with that right now. First of all, there wasn't any trees on my dad's farm anyway, I don't think. And there's no buildings there. Maybe there was one, I can't remember. But anyway, we don't care about that right now. So go here, type in your email address, and hit submit. Typically, for something this size, it's not going to take very long. Mine went to my AOL. Give it about 30 seconds, and then check your email. Okay, in about 30 seconds, this one popped up. You should be getting 3 emails. So you can download it here. So this is an image file. It's going to end up, we'll look at it here when we get an ArcGIS Pro, but what you want to do, or what I do anyway, is click on it, because I'm in Google Chrome, and then it's going to say, you sure you want to do this? And I say keep, and now it's downloading. While that's downloading, I can go back and check my mail again. Oh, there's another one. So this is a zipped file. This one is the contours. We want to do the same thing. Click on it. Yeah, and anytime it comes up with that keep thing, just say yes. I'll try that again. It doesn't look like it's downloading. Well, let's go here to show in folder. And here's my image file, so I can right click on that, copy, go to my folder that I have my stuff in, paste. It's got these really long, weird names with numbers and letters and all that stuff. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to click on this again. I don't know why it's not downloading. Maybe I need to right click, save link as. That sometimes works. And then I'm going to go to my folder. Sometimes you have to try different things here to get these things to work properly. Save. Go back here. Here's my other one. So I'm going to right click on that, or click once on that. Keep. Show in folder. Well, it doesn't like my contour file for some reason. I'm going to right click on this one now. It starts with HS. That's the one you know is the hillshade. So I'm going to I'm going quick there, but basically you see what I'm doing. Now let's go back. I'm not sure why it doesn't like my contour. No, I don't want that again. I already downloaded that one. I'm going to go back, try this contour one more time. The zipped file, click on it. Let's forget the zip file for now. It has contours. You know what contours are because your nightmare of week 2 assignment where you had to look at the USGS maps. So forget the contours unless you can download them, but let's move on and go to ArcGIS Pro. Now, if I click on Add Data, so I'm on the Map tab, Add Data. I'm going back to my Lab 5 folder, and it's not there because you have to hit refresh, which is something, I don't know why. It seems like with ArcGIS Pro, that refresh thing is something you got to do quite a bit. So if you don't see it, hit refresh. We're not going to open up the hillshade yet. Let's just open up this one. So click on it once and hit OK. And give it a second here, and it should pop in. Okay, so it looks like it gave me a bigger area than what I wanted. But this is now a raster. This is the first raster type image that we have brought in and worked with. So if we zoom in real close, see the little grid cells? So each of these grid cells have a number in it, and the number represents the elevation in meters. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this again, zoom to layer. So there it is. I'm going to have to, my video is running out, so I'm going to have to start a new one here. So it's going to be kind of an awkward pause for a second. Okay, so my recommendation is when you are dealing with a DEM like this, a digital elevation model, and again, rasters are better at representing things that have a value at pretty much any spot on Earth, right? Because every spot on Earth has an elevation, and it varies continuously as you move across the landscape. So you wouldn't use vector for that. I mean, you can use contours, which is a line file, right? But a DEM is a much better representation of that because you, especially with a small cell resolution, which we have here and which I'll show you here in a second. But my recommendation is don't include extra stuff that you don't need. It helps with symbology. It helps kind of keep things kind of nice and intact and just dealing with what you're interested in. So we're going to clip just like we clipped our 1 mile buffer last time. We're going to clip this out so we don't have any of this stuff out here. Okay. So we do that with the geoprocessing area. So we can either click on the geoprocessing down here or go up to view geoprocessing. And so it brings this up. If it didn't go here, just click the back button to where you get to find tools and type in clip raster and hit enter. And now it's looking for a tool to clip our raster. So we want to clip the raster to just our boundary. So let's click on that. Our input raster is this, right? We only have one raster in the whole thing, so it's going to only show us one thing. Our output extent is going to be the same as field boundary. Okay. And we want to use these input features for clipping geometry. So we're going to click the checkbox there. And we can change. Now, when you click on this output raster data set, again, don't go past, if you're changing the name, don't go past this slash right here. You can delete everything up to that slash because it needs to keep all this so it knows where to put it, right? So right here, let's call it clip, again, no spaces, raster. Whoops, I put ratser. Raster. Did I get that right? No, still rat. I don't know. Come on, Chad. Raster, clip raster. And we can go ahead and hit run. And it's running here, and it should be clipping out just the raster that's behind here. So we don't know if it worked because it should be hiding behind here, right? Because this is on top of this. So let's turn this off. We don't see anything, so we're probably like, hey, it didn't work, man. Well, if we turn that off, there it is. Okay, so let's right-click on clip raster and zoom to layer. So now we just have the DEM for Dad's field, right? Let's remove the old one because we don't need it anymore. If you like saving space on your hard drive, because these rasters can take up a lot of space on your hard drive, and so if you don't have a lot or you want to get rid of it and keep it cleaned up, you can go even delete it, on the hard drive. It's still there on the hard drive, but we got rid of it out of the map. And so now so we know that the elevations on Dad's field range from 376.76 meters to 379.998 meters. Okay, and the white areas are the higher areas, the dark areas are the lower areas. Let's do that transparency thing here again. So let's go up here, click on map. For some reason, see, this sometimes happens with ArcGIS Pro. You're like, there you go. You're like, where did the menu, where did the tab go? Where are those buttons? The reason it wasn't showing up is because I needed to click on clip raster to get this to show up. And then we go to appearance, drag that over, and you can kind of see, underneath it there. First let's right click on clip raster and go to properties. So we right-clicked on the word clip raster over here, went to properties. Let's go to source and raster information. So we can see how many columns and rows are in this grid. The cell size is a 2, and since we're dealing with meters here, so each grid cell is 2 by 2 meters to represent on the ground. And that's just kind of some of the stuff. Statistics is kind of cool to look at. Again, you can see, say, Dad, not only do you have Webster soils, but you also, here's your lowest elevation, whatever. And most of us here in the United States are not used to meters, so you might have to do some conversion, to get feet, which you just take this times 3.28084, and you'll get feet. Okay. Extent will tell you your UTM coordinate extents, those sort of thing. Spatial reference will tell you which you're using UTM, zone 15. Okay, so now we know all that. Let's go to right-click Symbology and click on the color scheme. We're going to keep it as stretch. And click on Show Names. Okay, so we clicked here for color scheme, Show Names, and go down to ones that say elevation. Let's try elevation 1. Now, another thing I like to do is stretch type. I like to change that to histogram equalize, because it really kind of stretches out your values according to the data in the histogram and makes it so, like, let's go back to what it was, which I think was percent clip. I mean, that's good, but look how much crisper the histogram equalize is. It gives you nice, more sharp boundaries, so you can kind of see, okay, this is a high area here, and then it quickly moves down into a low area. Let's bring in that hill shade. So let's go to Map, Add Data, HS, the one that says HS, and hit OK. So this was a hill shade data that they derived from the raster DEM. And so basically it's just supposed to show shadows and stuff. And since this area is flat as a pancake, you're not seeing a lot of hilliness. But what's kind of neat with these, what I like to do is I like to take the clip raster, put it on top of the hill shade, then go back to our Appearance tab, and now do this transparency. And it kind of looks, if we would have chosen an area with some more hills, it would look cooler. But it still kind of looks cool. You can see now these depressions and things. You get a better feel for the topography, and it better matches. Let's turn off clip raster and hill shade. And you see it's better matching up with what's really going on there on the surface. So the other map I want you to turn in then, besides the soil map, is this here. So go back again, do your insert, new layout. So you're going to turn in 2 maps for this lab. You're going to turn in one that has the soils data and one that has this clipped raster, and then turn in your paragraph on how things went. Starting to work with rasters a little bit here, raster processing, symbology, and soils data, which I think both of these things will probably help you with your project. So let me know if you have questions.